Okay. Should be recording. Okay, perfect.
Okay, great.
Okay, this is our informal observation 6, and it's about weeding.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sherry, tell me how did you weed? How did you start? It's
Um,
overwhelming, is what I'm saying. It's a lot.
yeah,
So,
it is a lot. And like I've said in previous meetings, I had the benefit of opening my own collection and building my own collection. So I was very much in tune with it. And then also because it was a brand new collection, I really didn't have to think about starting to weed until a few years, like at least 3 years down the road. And probably realistically, I didn't really think about weeding until probably 4 or 5 years down the road because of my situation being a brand new school and every single book being brand new. Um, um, the TSLAC, the Texas Library, I don't know, TSLAC,
yeah.
whatever TSLAC stands for. Back then had the crew manual, which they haven't
Yep.
updated in a long, long time. It's sort of been retired, although people are very much familiar with the crew method. Did I ever apply the crew method like just perfectly? No, I didn't. It's good to be familiar with the steps in crew, and I think a lot of people use Musty now, Mustie.
Okay.
Um, for someone that's not familiar with the overall goal of weeding, then yes, going through a real methodical process like that would probably be needed. But I'm very much a rule of thumb type of person, and I felt like I was really familiar with my collection since I did choose pretty much every book in the library. Um, and I knew my campus and the students and what they needed and what they liked and what the teachers needed for curricular support, that I didn't really use a specific method step by step by step. I think it's kind of common sense to a certain extent. Like if the book's torn up and damaged beyond repair, that's an obvious weed that maybe you didn't intend. Maybe that's a book that's still circulating well that you have to replace, but it still um, eliminates real estate on your shelf. But when you're actually going through, I would just, it's funny. I was kind of briefing through the crew method this morning, and it does say, because librarians tend to get very interrupted very often, it does say try to carve out some uninterrupted time because it really is, it's not a fast process. It really is a slow kind of painstaking process when you're actually in the stacks and you're actually
Yeah.
having to handle the books and evaluate them and turn them over and look at the copyright date and flip through the pages and see, is this worthy of remaining on the shelf, and looking at data to see if that book has even circulated at all. Um, so I was very much like a fly by my seat, fly by the seat of my pants, sort of
Yeah.
a weeder.
Right.
Um, and I do remember getting one of those rolly stools and just doing it shelf section by shelf section as I had some uninterrupted time, which was hard to come by.
Yes. So I don't know how, so I think I'm the fourth librarian at our school, and I don't know how much has been weeded, but I can tell you that I don't think very much in the
Mm,
nonfiction. And I think I mentioned this on our last one, like that is my goal, because
yes,
that's the section that can change so fast. I
right.
mean, that technology, the technology section changes rapidly. The um uh just, you know, I so I had some time at the end of the year,
Hmm.
and I know that a lot of the books in my library, because I started off looking in Tidal Wave and then I looked at a couple of reports in Destiny, and I know that my collection's just old, like I think the average was like 2005 or something. And so I just started with those zeros and I just said, okay, realistically, what is an elementary student going to read, whether you're
Mm-hmm.
fifth grade or, first grade? And that's kind of what I based it on. And being in the classroom did help.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was kinder, second, and third, so I kind of had that range. Um, so I've weeded a lot so far, and I've only made it to like the 520s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so nervous about weeding animal books because those to me get the most usage.
Right.
Um, so I might leave that section alone for a little bit, but add, and then depending on what I'm adding, take some out,
Mm-hmm.
or and donate those to classrooms, because
Mm-hmm.
I know that like kinder and first could always use a lot of
Mm-hmm.
those easier reads, and I'm trying to keep those easy. I am trying to keep the easier reads on the shelf so they do have something to get. But a couple of the other sections that I haven't gotten to, and maybe you can help me with this, is like the car section, the poetry, the some of those 900s, like history and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. How do you
Mm-hmm.
start with something like poetry, for example? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do you just go off what's popular and what the circulation only?
I mean,
Like,
I mean, out of an entire school, you may have one student that likes poetry. Like, poetry's just not popular with our students. It's
mhm,
not. Usually when we're doing poetry, it's because it's supporting the curriculum. So to me, poetry would be an easy
okay,
weed because I'm going to look at one of two things. I'm going to be looking at what are my teachers wanting from my poetry section, if anything.
mhm,
And if it's like they don't ask for poetry, well, maybe that needs to be
right,
promoted to them.
okay,
Maybe they're not aware that you can support them in the classroom with poetry, or maybe that you as a librarian love poetry and they may not, and that you could actually do a lesson on poetry and support that and then also promote the books. Poetry can be a lot of fun,
mhm,
but do you need a lot of poetry? Mm, probably not. You're going to have the best of the best on the shelves, depending on what
right.
your teachers are wanting and what they use every year. And poetry is also one of those things where they're going to want the shells Silverstein, which are old.
Exactly.
They're old,
I
and
know.
those are the ones they're going to
Yeah.
come asking for. So,
Yep.
really, like you as a professional and a previous, former teacher are going to know
Yep.
what is going to get used and what's not. And does any crew method, musty method, or anything tell you that? Absolutely not. That's your
Yeah.
expertise as the librarian, knowing what your school population uses and needs. For students, it's also easy. You're going to do the poetry that's fun and
Yeah.
colorful and lively and funny and maybe not really thick, maybe really thin and
Mhm.
kid friendly, and have a few of those. And maybe that's the part of your poetry collection that you turn over and
Focus on.
recycle.
Mhm.
Um, and then a few really, really key titles to support the curriculum. Um,
Yeah.
as far as the animal books and stuff like that, like I said, a much to me as a school librarian, like it's so much common sense and what does my school need and want and how much real estate do I need to try to gain back and to make room for new fresh. um in your situation where it seems like it's been neglected for a number of years, your first weeding project is probably going to be that. It's probably going to be a big old giant
It is. Yeah.
project for the first year. I think once you get going, I think they say like no more than a 5% refresh every year
Okay.
to your library shelves. So once you have a good weeding schedule going, then it's not
Mhm.
such an overwhelming task. But when it's been neglected, like it has been at your school, then it's going to be like you're almost going to be probably culling out probably a good 30%, 20 to 30% probably,
It's kind of what I was thinking.
just to kind
Mhm.
of get you. and I don't, and to me, I feel like that's easier. It's a lot and it's going to take some time, but I don't think your discerning is going to be as tough as if you were only trying to recycle over 5%.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
It does.
Because
It
once
does.
you get your collection kind of on par with what you want it to be, say you want it to be like it's 2026, say you want it, your average age to come up to 2016,
Okay.
10 years old. I mean, what is it now? Do you know what your average collection age
I
is
think
now?
it's 2005.
See, that's huge. If you
I
make a
know.
10-year jump from where it is now
Yeah. Yeah.
up to 2015 or 2016, which is a long time
I
ago.
know. It's still a long time ago.
It's still a long time ago, and we're losing ground every year on
I
that
know.
span, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but
Okay.
yeah, so yeah,
That's
that
good.
first year it's going to be quite the project.
I know. And I just end up with books everywhere. I'm letting kids take things. I'm donating.
Yep.
Um, but it's a
Hmm.
lot. So another one of my questions is I'm really scared to touch the picture book section. I don't even know like how to get started because there's just and I know we've talked about this like as teachers we're the ones that love those fiction books probably
Yes.
more. And
Hmm.
there is just some classics like you have like Snowy Day and Rainbow Fish and those are old, but
Right.
they're tried and true and
Hmm.
but they're but at that same rate there are so many picture books being inundated. I'm constantly on like Instagram and Facebook pages like, oh, here's a new one from this author, a new one from, and I'm
And they're all wonderful, and you want them
yes,
all.
that's exactly right. So how would you start a picture book section weed or an everybody section?
I mean, same way. Like you're going to know what your teachers ask for every year. You're
Okay.
going to know what your kids love every year. You're going to look. That's going to be one of those things where you're going to rely more on reports.
Okay.
And when was the
Yep.
last time this one circulated and try to take the emotion out of it? We're going to look at data. Now you have to keep in mind that part of the reason the things aren't circulation is because the collection may be overwhelming and bloated for a
Yes.
kid coming in there. They're like, oh my gosh. I mean, they can't say that. They probably can't verbalize how they feel, but there's too much.
Yes, I
And
agree.
there's not enough face out shelving and there's not enough browsable bins. And because it's just packed full and everything has to be spun out. So, like, you have to kind of keep that in mind that that first time through, even the data may be really really, really low and a lot of zeros never checked out because the collection itself is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So you might have to be the first line of decision
Yeah.
making. But once you kind of can get the collection kind of thinned out some where it's not so overwhelming for a child to choose or even a teacher to choose that maybe not be, a real big library user and they're intimidated by the library too. If you can get the collection not to be quite so bloated, I think you'll start seeing more circulation and then you'll be able to rely on data more.
So eventually, I think I've talked to you about this also. I do want to do, the bins and the forward facing out. How would you organize those in the picture book section? Would you still stick to last name? Would you stick or, author? I mean, that's where I get really kind of overwhelmed. It's like, okay, so in order to do that, then I've got to have some sort of plan or a backup plan in place or
Mm-hmm.
just a plan in place. So how would you organize with those forward facing out? How would you put them in the bins? Like,
So you have to keep in mind I was in elementary, so
right,
I
right,
was
right.
secondary and middle school, so we didn't do quite as much of that friendly forward facing bin type shelving in middle school. Although it is now becoming very much the thing, even at secondary, when I was there, I was very much a traditionalist. I was very much about these kids know how to find something on the computer. They need to be able to find
Right.
it and go get it and all that. I was kind of hardcore like that. I'm kind of lightening up now that I read more and I see more libraries, and I've gotten the bird's eye view of a lot of libraries in our district now and saying, oh, that really is a good idea. Where when you're pigeonholed on your campus,
Sure.
you kind of have blinders on, and you also have kind of you're relying on what kind of teacher was I, and I kind of felt like I was a challenging teacher, so I tended to be kind of a challenging librarian.
Mhm.
I wanted kids to learn in the library, not just, oh, I'm here to find my favorite book. I really wanted them to learn something and apply those skills while they were there. um, but what I've seen is we do have district standards on things, and our district standards are to catalog, like the everybody section a certain way, and it's E for everybody and the author's last name. So I think um, still pretty much sticking to that, but maybe not perfect shelf order is acceptable. Um, and one thing our new coordinator, Lisa, suggested was putting the colored letters, like A has, there's a colored letter on the spine, and
Oh,
it's like a
yes.
square sticker, and it might be red, and all the letter A's are red, and it helps you with the
Okay.
shelving. But as long as they're in the same group in the same area, it doesn't really
Then that's
matter
okay.
if
Okay.
it doesn't really matter if they're in perfect shelf order, especially if they're in a bin. But then, like series, like Name
Yes.
Me and Everybody series, like I'm trying to think, like Fancy Nancy, would that be in Easy or Everybody? Uh,
Yes.
a series where they would might that might be your Fancy Nancy
The
tub. Well,
bin.
your
Yeah.
kid, yeah, your children are not going to look at the spine label. They're going to look at the bin, and they're going to look at your signage, and they're going to look at how you label things. So you have to kind of marry those two things, like making it browsable for a child, um, and making it appealing for them, but easy for you to shelve, which means you wouldn't
Yes.
necessarily be worrying about the perfect shelf order like I was when I was a librarian.
Hmm.
Um, and with no library aid, that makes it easier on you too.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, that's helpful. Then one of the questions is, did your mentor's library have a specific written policies about weeding? I guess that'd probably be more of a, does the district have written policies about weeding?
Mm-hmm. Good question. I always hear Lisa mention the musty,
Okay.
because like I said, the crew method has kind of sunset, um, kind of been sunsetted, if that's a word. Um, but she very much is just, what does the data say, and
Yep.
and
Yep.
she's very much about, she's not emotionally attached to titles at all. She's totally like dry. Like I'm
Hmm.
not, I don't even care if it's a
Right.
2005 title. I don't care if it's a classic. Get rid of it. It's old.
Right.
I tend to be more middle ground and going, well, the
Right.
teachers use that book every year, so I'm going to keep it,
Yeah.
or whatever. Or
Yeah.
the students still love it, so I'm going to keep it. Or
Yeah.
that's a classic, so I'm going to keep it. The Secret Garden, great book.
I know. Yeah.
It's a classic, but it's still a great story.
Yes. I
Um,
agree. I agree.
so
Okay.
so that's a really good question. Do we have a formal policy? I want to say no, that we don't have a, like, online in our shared drive. This is the policy you have to.
Hmm.
I think it's more just using Lisa as as guidance and looking at the data and saying,
Hmm.
hey, if you've got a 2005 age collection, let's try to pull you up 7 years. Let's try. It's kind of taking it case by case on it,
Okay.
because every school is different. Every
Yep.
school has a different budget.
Right.
uh Replenishing those titles, and for you it may not even be replenishing them. It may just be that first year, just
I know.
slimming it down.
That's so that's kind of what I'm thinking. So as I'm going, I'm like writing down, okay, I'm I'm in the planet section. Okay, well, I've scaled this down. I've taken out X amount of books. Okay, maybe I just want to add like a few right now, but really add
Get
more later.
the
Or
hottest topics, the ones that are really knocking everybody's socks off. Get those, get the blue bonnets.
Yep.
Get the ones that, and say, you know what, I'm going to buy 20 picture
Mhm.
books this year and I'm stopping. That's my limit. I'm going to get 20 and I'm going to weed 100
Okay.
because my section is so
Yes.
overwhelming and
Yep.
I've got to thin it out and kind of just set some parameters for yourself because you know what your numbers are. You could look at your 100 section and say, okay, my 100 section is it's a whole shelf section, which would probably be what, 4 shelves.
Mhm.
I really want my 100s to only be 2 shelves.
Okay.
So for this section, that's my goal. Am I using a formal method or anything like that? No, I'm just saying this is what I want for this section because my nonfiction shelves are so full I'm bleeding over onto carts now or whatever. Or every single shelf is end to end and I don't even have to use a bookend on my shelves. Like you
Yes.
can even do it like that, and take it
Mhm.
Dewey by Dewey or
That's yeah.
author letter by author letter and just say, I've got 200 books here. I want to take it down to 100, or I've got 75. I want to take it down to 50
Okay.
and kind of try to use that as your goal to get to and take it section by section. So is that a formal policy? No, that's a rule of thumb from an experienced librarian that's what I would do for myself
Right, right, right.
and just take it in small chunks so it won't be so overwhelming for you.
Okay. That's kind of how I've started. So it's comforting to hear that I'm on the right path. The only thing I wish is I wish I had more data from previous years, but that's a system thing and I'll have that, you know, next year
And really, in the
upcoming and
situation you're in with being so bloated, especially in your nonfiction, you
right.
probably don't really need it.
That's true.
You probably can go off a copyright date and just knowing, I mean, you're an educator, you know what
Yep.
students love and need. And like
Yep.
in that animal section, you might need it to be a full section or maybe 2. But right now, maybe it's 4 and you need to
Oh
make it
yeah.
half the size it is. Um, and that's easy, taking out the ratty books, taking out the
Yeah.
ones that are the print's too small or it's too challenging, the Lexile's too high or whatever. That's all easy stuff
Yep.
that you can
Yep.
pull out quickly, um, and just try to take it chunk by chunk,
Okay. That's perfect. Okay,
manageable
good.
chunks. Yep.
All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop the recording. Where am I? Where's my mouse? My mouse is probably asleep. There we go. How do I hit? Oh, here. Stop recording. Okay. Thank you.